I don't really.
Just
I
be
have
me and it
never.
just happens.
Yeah. I don't really ever have a strategy. I just whatever's going on with a particular person is you can't really. Each individual is an individual, and they have different struggles and insecurities, and you just kind of handle it one human being at a time. That's the only way to really coach on this show, I think.
Lights, cameras, red chairs, and beneath the polish of one of television's biggest talent shows lies a story that no one expected. A truth that one superstar held close for years before finally letting the world in. This is the story of Kelly Clarkson, Blake Shelton, and Gwen Stefani. A trio whose chemistry on The Voice captivated millions, but whose behind-the-scenes reality might be far more complicated than it seemed. In the bright glow of the studio, they looked like family. But off-camera, there were moments of tension, strategy, and quiet understanding. And recently, Kelly Clarkson finally revealed the truth she had been keeping to herself. A truth about influence, competition, and the delicate balance between friendship and rivalry. Familiar faces, hidden frictions. Kelly Clarkson and Blake Shelton first crossed paths on The Voice, the hit talent show that made coaches as famous as the contestants. They were equals on paper, two major stars, both with a string of hits and an army of fans, but their dynamic quickly became one of playful teasing mixed with subtle competition. Kelly once said that working with Blake was like working with the funniest liar she knew. It sounded like a joke, but underneath, it hinted at something real. That Blake had a knack for bending situations in his favor. On-screen, their banter was gold. Off-screen, there were signs that Kelly sometimes found herself outmaneuvered by Blake's effortless charm and wit. When Gwen Stefani entered the picture as both Blake's fellow coach and his romantic partner, the energy shifted once again. Kelly admired Gwen's warmth and creativity, even calling her one of the nicest people she'd ever met. But she couldn't ignore how Gwen's presence changed. Blake. How his attitude, focus, and even his decision-making on the show seemed to orbit around her. In public, it was friendly. In private, Kelly noticed something different, and that awareness would become the truth she eventually admitted to fans. The admission, "I have to do nothing." One of Kelly's most revealing moments came when she jokingly said she didn't even have to compete with Gwen, because Gwen already had Blake wrapped around her finger. Kelly laughed when she said it, but her tone made people listen closer. "I have to do nothing," she said, "because Gwen just asks Blake for things, and he gives them to her." It was a light-hearted confession, but it carried a message. Kelly wasn't just talking about a TV show. She was pointing out the power dynamics that existed right in front of everyone's eyes. Gwen wasn't playing the same competitive game as Kelly. She was influencing it from another level, quietly, strategically, through her connection with Blake. Kelly's truth wasn't bitterness, it was clarity. She had realized that while she and Blake were always portrayed as rivals, Gwen had become the unspoken wildcard. The balance of power had shifted, and Kelly saw it clearly enough to finally say it out loud. From friendship to tactical collaboration. Despite the jokes, Kelly has never hidden her admiration for Gwen Stefani. She once said that Gwen's energy lights up the room, and that she's the nicest human ever. The two shared plenty of laughs on set and were often seen supporting each other's teams. But under that friendship, there was a complex reality, one where alliances could change with a single episode. Kelly described being on The Voice as both fun and exhausting. She and Blake often teamed up in banter, but competition was fierce. Every decision mattered, every contestant a chance to win. Yet with Gwen in the mix, Kelly noticed that Blake seemed more relaxed, more confident, like he didn't have to strategize as much. The unspoken truth was that Gwen's influence calmed Blake and simultaneously strengthened his hand. And for Kelly, who prided herself on being straightforward and honest, it created a game that felt emotionally layered. Friendship and rivalry existed side by side. What Kelly finally spoke about wasn't gossip. It wasn't scandal. It was understanding. She admitted that Gwen's presence on the show didn't just affect Blake. It affected everyone. Gwen had a quiet influence that shaped how Blake made choices, how the show's energy flowed, and even how Kelly herself approached the game. Kelly revealed that she didn't feel the need to compete against that kind of influence. Instead, she observed it. She respected it. And that was her truth. That sometimes power isn't loud or obvious. It's subtle, emotional, and built on connection. Why it matters. The real story behind the red chairs. Kelly's revelation matters because it exposes something most people overlook in entertainment. That behind the smiles and scripted jokes, real relationships drive everything. First, it shows how influence works in a world where perception is everything. Fans see friendly banter, but Kelly's truth reveals that alliances and emotions shape what happens behind those red chairs. Second, it touches on the expectations placed on women in the industry. Kelly and Gwen are both powerful, successful artists, yet they are constantly compared, as if there can only be one queen in the room. Kelly's statement subtly pushes back against that. She acknowledges the competition but refuses to let it define her. Now that Kelly has finally spoken out, what does it mean for her future and for her relationship with Blake and Gwen? For one, it clears the air. It shows that Kelly has no resentment, only perspective. She's moved past needing to win against anyone and is more focused on her music, her talk show, and her peace of mind. Fans speculate that if the trio ever reunites on television, the energy will be different, lighter, more honest. Because now the truth is out there. Everyone knows how the dynamic really worked, and Kelly's openness may have freed them all from years of hidden tension. As the stage lights dim and the red chairs fade to black, one thing becomes clear. Not all truths are dramatic. Some are simply honest. Kelly Clarkson didn't expose a scandal. She revealed a reality. A truth about how influence works, how friendship and competition can coexist, and how even in Hollywood's most polished moments, authenticity finds its way through. Will Blake or Gwen ever respond directly to Kelly's subtle confession? Or will they let her truth stand, quietly acknowledged but never denied? Either way, the curtain has lifted just enough for us to see what was always there. That in the world of fame, love, and music, the real stories often unfold behind the smiles. Because in show business, the truest words are often spoken softly, and once they're out, they can't be unsaid.